Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you. Welcome to Bayou Sports Talk here down in the Bayou of Louisiana, baby. We have a great show for you today. But we're going to go ahead and get started and let everyone introduce themselves. I am Kay, your moderator. Start off, holla at them, Reed.
How y'all doing? Hope all is well with y'all. We back for our 38th episode, so let's get into it.
Coach.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Langston Boston community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. I know y'all gonna enjoy the show. Excuse me. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
All right, coach, start us off with boxing. What do you have for us in the boxing news?
All right, we have a ridiculous amount of boxing topics today. First and foremost for the day, Sandy Ryan gonna go against Terry Harper. That's gonna be on the zone, and Jose Cepeda gonna go against Dalton Smith. Unless you an extremely hardcore boxing fan, you're not gonna care about those fights. I know Ryan and Harper, they're gonna fight in the UK probably like in an hour or so. That's gonna be on the zone. So for the most part, unless you're an extremely hardcore boxing fan, you're not gonna care about those particular fights. In addition to that, we also we have, we talked about a lot about the mental health issues that Ryan Garcia been having, but it seems like he's been spiraling even more out of control. And the overarching theme when it comes to him is that he's devalued this fight with Devin the Dream Haney. Is I think it's going to do well on. It's going to do decent on pay per view, but in terms of the live gate, people are not going to go to a fight when they think one fighter is literally melting down before their eyes in terms of having a mental breakdown. So he's seriously hurting that particular fight at the gate. And also, Shakur Steven has interjected himself in this particular situation in terms of the fight between Devin the Dream Haney and Ryan Garcia. He wants to be the replacement for Ryan Garcia in terms of fighting Devin Haney if Ryan Garcia is not able to fight due to his mental health issues. And in addition to that, he's basically begging Ryan Garcia to fight him after Devin Haney if he does go through with the fight. And the two of them had a bit of back and forth, and it resulted in Ryan Garcia talking about how I'm gonna phrase this to be like kid friendly. Basically, he's saying when Shakur Stevenson does his business, he doesn't do an adequate job or properly wiping himself when he's done. That's basically what he said, and he said anybody that was on the boxing team with Shakur Stevenson, they know that to be a fact. And he said, if you think I'm lying, you could verify it with other individuals that was on I'm assuming like the amateur boxing team with him. So that ended up being a big thing. A lot of people have been trolling Shakur Stevenson after that. Also, one of, this fighter used to be, one of my favorite fighters, AB Adrian the Problem Broner. Of course, I kind of, my perception of him changed with this whole situation with Alicia Baumgardner. However, he has an upcoming fight with Blair the fake Ric Flair Cobb. Blair Cobb he has a real good mouthpiece, but he's a trash fighter. And I hate to say it, with all the issues Adrian Broner has been having with drinking, honestly, I think Blair Cobb might be the favorite in that fight. But at this point, like I really don't too much care about AB and his antics. I think the drinking has really kind of taken him over, and the whole situation with Alicia Baumgartner. I used to be a huge fan of AB. The sad thing about him is he never reached his fullest potential because of the drinking and because of some of the issues he has outside of the ring, and the fact that he was supposed to be the next Floyd. He was a protege of Floyd Mayweather Jr., but he never had Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s work ethic, so that's what seriously hampered him. Also, we know that Tank Davis or Abdul Wahid, Giovanni Tank Davis, Abdul Wahid, because he's a Muslim. So I've never heard him call himself Abdul Wahid publicly. Supposedly that's his new name, but every time boxing pundits and YouTubers and people like myself that talk about him, I've never heard anyone call him by his new Muslim name. But either way, Tank. I'm not gonna say Javante Davis or Abdul Wahid. I'm just gonna say Tank. He's supposed to fight against Frank Martin coming up. The undercard for that particular fight is coming together. It's coming together pretty good. And they also talk about the backstory because, of course, at one point, Frank Martin was a sparring partner for Tank Davis. Tank claimed that he rocked Frank Martin in sparring. And then, of course, a lot of people that I guess that was there. They refuted that claim, and they said, if anything, Frank Martin hurt Tank. And they say so much so that Tank wanted to come out his boxing gloves and he wanted to fight him for real. So, that's that particular situation. Also, former Showtime boxing president, I'm not going to say president, but he was over boxing, Steven Espinoza. He now works with the PBC, the Premier Boxing Champions. He said, in terms of the situation between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., he said basically Terrence Crawford did everything that he was supposed to do and he needed to do to fulfill the rematch clause, but the fact that Errol Spence Jr. had so many medical issues with the cataract and the rib and he had and so on and so forth, that basically from a timing standpoint, they could never fight the rematch when they were supposed to. And as a result, that kind of led to Terrence Bud Crawford just moving on. And speaking of Errol Spence, it seems as if, with the success of Derrick James, he brought on Ryan Garcia, he brought on Anthony Joshua, many of our brothers and sisters in the LDBC, especially the Queens of the Ring, shout out to them. They say that would be a bad idea for Derrick James to take on Ryan Garcia and Anthony Joshua when they felt like they brought a lot of negative energy to the camp. And it seems as if as a result, Errol Spence Jr. is going to part ways with him as a trainer. I don't know if that's the case or not, because it seems as if at one point that Derrick James and Errol Spence Jr. were extremely close. But either way, whenever he gets back in the ring, if he does pivot and go in a different direction in terms of training, changing his trainers, I hope he makes a good decision and he gets back with Blue Ray in terms of being his strength and conditioning coach. But more than anything, hopefully all the medical issues he's having in terms of the surgeries, the cataract, everything else, hopefully he can have a speedy recovery. But because of his situation, basically, Terrence Crawford was able to move on. So Terrence Crawford did everything he was supposed to do. But according to Steven Espinoza, basically all the medical issues that Errol Spence Jr. was having in terms of the cataract and other little nicks and, surgeries he had to have, it just kind of freed Terrence Crawford up to move in a different direction. And also, Canelo Alvarez, we know that Saul Canelo Alvarez, he's going to fight against Jaime Munguia. But I've been saying for a long time that Canelo Alvarez, he ducked David Benavidez, but it's official at this point because he said to fight David Benavidez, he would need between $150 to $200 million to fight David Benavidez. And David Benavidez has always been extremely respectful of Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez said he would not fight another Mexican fighter. However, Jaime Munguia is a Mexican fighter. And the fact that he made such an outrageous demand in terms of demanding anywhere from $150 to $200 million, it goes to show you that that Canelo Alvarez is ducking David Benavidez. The the last couple things I want to bring up is the fact that Tim Tszyu, he was supposed to fight against Keith One Time Thurman, but Keith One Time Thurman, he got injured again. At one point, the one time was for a one puncher, he can knock you out. But now at this point, seems like the one time means he's gonna fight maybe one time every 5 years or so. So due to that, due to him being injured, basically he's not gonna fight against Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is not gonna fight against Sebastian Fundora. So Sebastian Fundora is a replacement fighter for Keith Thurman, and those two not gonna fight for one of the junior middleweight titles. And Terrence Crawford is moving up in weight. A lot of people say that he ducked Jerron Boots in this, but the way it's setting up for that particular fight, Terrence Crawford is going to fight the winner of Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. And the last thing I want to bring up in terms of topics, my favorite fighter, the Bronze Bomber Deontay Wilder, he's finalizing a fight with Zilly Big Bang Zhang to fight, over there in the desert. Supposedly, it's going to be on the undercard for the undisputed light heavyweight title fight between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. So Bivol and Beterbiev going to fight for undisputed, and Wilder and Zhang is going to be on the undercard. Now, there was a rematch clause for Zhang and Parker, but evidently, I think Zhang had an escape clause, and that's allowing him to go in a different direction and fight against Wilder. Of course, the last two losses each one of those fighters had was to Joseph Parker. So those are all topics in terms of boxing news. King Ray, what you thought about all the topics, and which topic stands out? Of all the topics I just routed off, which one stands out to you the most?
I would say the one about Frank Martin, supposedly rocking, Javante Davis in a sparring training session. I know people use that, like if that fight would have happened, people would use that as like kind of something like with a storyline. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll give people like, hey, Javante could potentially lose this fight. It's very realistic. And the one with seeing Big Bang Zhang fight Deontay Wilder, I think that's gonna be a banger of a fight. Pun was intended. Um, so those are the two topics that stuck out to me. Um, I know it's a lot of potential stuff that could get done. There's a lot of speculations. Um, nothing is like really signed in ink. Nobody really signed anything on a dotted line. Um, Especially, with the Shakur Stevenson hoping to fight Ryan Garcia. I find that kind of strange. Like, why would you want to try and fight him? And you see he's going through, unless I know fighters will do this, where if they see a fighter is struggling, they will want to fight them because they know that will bring in revenue for the fighter. Because everybody knows, like, Ryan Garcia's gambling addiction and stuff. So that may be them. That like I noticed in combat sports, fighters have a funny way of helping out each other. It's not that they're funny, but it'll look funny to most casual people because it'll look like, okay, he's fighting this dude and he's disrespecting him. How could he be possibly helping him? Because fighters know that if they build up a good fight, they'll bring in a lot of revenue. And fighters don't have to accept fights with other fighters, especially in boxing. That's why a lot of fighters hold each other in high respect. Fighters usually fight fighters that they respect. So I feel like, this could be Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney trying to help Ryan Garcia by both of them having a boxing match with him to bring in revenue. If that's not the case, Shakur Stevenson may be looking at just an easy dub against a name like Ryan Garcia, with him going through what he's going through. And Ryan Garcia will most likely lose to Devin Haney. So, after that, like, Ryan Garcia could have potentially have 3 straight losses, to big names, Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson. But
I mean, honestly, I could see why you would see it that way, but truthfully speaking, I'm not going to even lie. I think in this
which
particular,
point?
in terms of the last point you made about Shakur,
Oh,
potentially,
fighting Ryan Garcia because
yeah, I think more than anything, I think it's a clout chase because, in the process of all of this, he also said, I think he has a fight coming up in June or July. Now, if he didn't want to take 25% to fight Devin Haney for undisputed, because you and I, we had a disagreement about that at the time from the standpoint of basically Devin Haney took less than that to go to Australia and fight against George Kambosos. And basically he took a terrible deal. Essentially, Kambosos was the A side in both the first and the second fight. But they offered him a terrible deal because they figured he wouldn't take it. He took it so he could become the A side in the next fight. And even though Shakur has been, champion in, a few different divisions, a couple different divisions, or whatever the case may be, he's never been undisputed. And he had the opportunity to fight for undisputed. And he felt like 25% was a low ball offer. Now, he told Ryan Garcia in his whole back and forth that in all actuality, Devin Haney and Bill Haney, they didn't offer him 25%. So which one is it? And then even with that being said, in the aftermath of everything, even the build-up, in the aftermath of Devin Haney beating Loma, he claimed, even though Devin Haney was supposed to be his friend, he claimed Loma won the fight. And also he kept behind the scenes, he was telling them, oh man, Top Rank making me do this, Bob making me do this, blah, 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 blah. Devin Haney was in Houston and he sent him a bottle saying sign a contract, when in all actuality, there was no contract. So based on Shakur Stevenson's pattern of behavior, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's an exceptionally talented fighter, but the way he moves out of the ring, he's shown that he does a lot of lying, but more than anything, he's shown that he's a clout chaser. And I don't think he really has no real interest, even if Ryan Garcia cannot fight against Devin the Dream Haney. You turn on an opportunity to fight for undisputed and potentially make $8 million in that particular fight. You turn that down. So why would you want to be a late replacement for Ryan Garcia? And also, if, like you said, Ryan Garcia is having all these mental health issues, they already have a stand-in opponent just in case Ryan can't fight that fight. But more than anything, you're on Top Rank. You fight for Bob Arum. Devin Haney is a co-promoter, so essentially he can fight wherever he wants. That's the reason why he was able to go to ESPN and fight those fights against Kambosos and Loma. When they asked Bob Arum for a fourth option to fight you, Bob declined it. And also, Ryan Garcia is fighting on the zone also. He's an Oscar De La Hoya fighter. So there's no way Bob Arum is going to let you fight Devin Haney is a substitute fighter. And in addition to that, Oscar De La Hoya is not going to go for it. Eddie Hearn is not going to go for it. And Bill Haney is not going to go for it, even though at the end of the day, like Devin Haney, he's a co-promoter, so he makes his own decisions. And that was the issue when it came to Shakur and when it came to Regis Prograis in terms of, them feeling like they're on the same level is Devin Haney. But the thing about it is Devin Haney, in all actuality, is a boss. He makes his own decisions. He fights who he wants to fight. Shakur Stevenson doesn't have that capability, and neither does Regis Prograis. So I think at the end of the day, I think more than anything, Shakur Stevenson has shown that he's a liar, but more than anything, he's a clout chaser. So I don't think he has no interest in really fighting Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia. I think that's his way of interjecting into the situation and trying to garner some attention for himself. So,
All right, guys. Anything else you would like to bring forward?
King Ray?
Okay, guys, let's talk about the NBA. So much has been going on. Start us off, Coach. What you have about the NBA?
More than anything, week in and week out, we talk about the Pelicans. But the thing that's really kind of been the hot button issue is the fact that a lot of people feel like the Pelicans are a real threat in the playoffs, in that if you're a higher seed, even if you're a team like the Denver Nuggets or you're a team like the Clippers, like the Pelicans is a team that you would want to avoid in the first round because they have so many pieces in terms of, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum. They have a deep bench. They have a lot of good young players. They have a lot of depth. They have veterans. They have a combination of young players and veterans. And it's like a puzzle where all the pieces fit together. So, as opposed to just us focusing in on any one particular game, at this point in the season, I talked about this several times the past few months. And I say basically this time of year, you won't be trending in the right direction. You won't get hot close to playoff time. And you want to have momentum going into the playoffs. And it seems as if the way things are going for the Pelicans, I just kind of feel like more than anything, more so than any one particular game, I think they pose a lot of threat. They pose a big threat to a lot of teams that's in the top of the Western Conference. They pretty much look like they're gonna be the 5 or the 6 seed, but more than anything, they pose a real threat to teams.
I would agree with Coach. Like, man, I remember I gotta give Stephen A. Smith credit. Stephen A. Smith been saying this for a while, like for the past couple of years. He was saying, when Zion fully gets healthy and plays at his peak, the Pelicans could, make it to the finals, the conference finals or the NBA finals. Um, so it's like we definitely see that now. Like I feel like the Pelicans are a real threat, and everybody is recognizing it and seeing it. I know the game against, I believe when the Pelicans played the Magics, excuse me, Brandon Ingram kind of hyper extended his knee, but I don't think the seriousness of that, and I don't think the injury is that like serious to where like, oh, he's gonna be out for the playoffs or anything like that. I think he may be out for like a few weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if like the Pelicans rest, if they rest Brandon Ingram like these last couple of weeks of the season and have him, ready to go for the playoffs, and by the looks of it, man, it looked like Zion is finally about to play his first full season in the NBA. So, but like that being said, even looking at the stats from last game that the Pelicans played against the Heat, CJ McCollum dropped 30 with Brandon Ingram not playing. And like that's the stuff that we expect for the veteran, like CJ McCollum on most nights when you have Zion and BI, he's kind of the third piece. But when like let's just say BI is not available, Zion's not available, CJ McCollum could still step up and be that 30-point guy that you need. And like you still have Brian Hawkins, who I'm very high on, who comes off the bench. He could. I remember when the Pelicans played Dallas in Dallas, and that's a game that Zion or Bi didn't play. And Jordan Hawkins, I think I might have made a mistake and say Brian Hawkins, but I meant to say Jordan Hawkins. Came off the bench. I don't think he came off the bench. I think he might have started that game, and he dropped 30. And even all the Mavericks fans that was sitting around me was like, they was just saying how good of a player he is. Like, oh man, this dude's hot, or he could shoot and stuff like that. But yeah, the Pelicans are deep. We got Trey Murphy, the rookie Hawkins. So like this is definitely not a team that anybody wants to meet in the first round. And I like the more the Pelicans play, the more confident that I am that they will win. Whoever they play, they will win their first round series. But yeah, I 100% agree with Coach. Man, I don't know. it's finally here. The NBA is in a good. Oh man, the NBA is in a good position right now, bro. You know, you got Ant Man, you got Anthony Edwards dunking on people. Like, bro, he's committing felonies on TV the way he's dunking on some of these people, bro. You know, you got Zion returning back to farm, and hopefully, you know, Ja Morant could get back healthy and not play with guns. You know, and so you know the NBA is in good hands. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, so kind of excited for the playoffs now. But that's it.
Coach, any rebuttals?
Yeah, I agree with his assessment in terms of, Zion and Anthony Edwards. Of course, the one episode King Ray wasn't available in terms of the After Dark episode. We talked about, the face of the league. A lot of people feel like in terms of like the new wave of players, they feel like Anthony Edwards is going to be like the next face of the league in terms of, they feel like he's going to have that crossover appeal. He's going to be more marketable. I disagree. They're probably going to try to push it on Victor Wembanyama or push it on Luka, one of those two players. But, I agree with him in terms of, the assessment he's making in terms of, Anthony Edwards and Zion Williamson and the, the basically the young players, and also what Man Event Mark with his take also in terms of, the Thunder stepping up. Of course, Shea Gilchrist Alexander, he a dog. They have a lot of good young talent. In fact, they bumped the Pelicans in the play-in tournament. So, they pushing the tempo. Also, in terms of the Houston Rockets, they're trying to step up, behind Green. But, the thing about it is with Green, with the whole Drea Michelle, situation where she had a baby for him, she's in her later 30s, he's in his early 20s. And of course, she is a history in the past. I think the bad thing for the Rockets is even though Green is playing well, he's garnering too much negative attention off the court. But I think more than anything, you got a lot of good young teams. And, of course, he said he hoped the Houston Rockets could bump off Golden State or the Lakers, you know. But more than anything, I think you have a lot of good young players in the league. And, I'm excited about, the playoffs in like a month or so. Of course, with the play-in tournament, but with the NCAA and the NBA, they added in, extra games so they could generate extra revenue. But more than anything, I'm happy with the state of the NBA at this point.
Okay, anything else, guys? Open discussion. Start us off, Ray. I know you have some good topics. What you want to start us off with?
Um, if any of y'all watch, you know, the Grambling versus Purdue game, you know, just y'all opinion on, you know, even though you know Grambling didn't perform well, and even today with Jackson State playing against UConn, you know, I just want to get y'all opinion, not on just Grambling really, but on like HBCUs making it, you know, to the big dance, you know, and making it to March Madness for the men's and the women's, and also for the future, because you know, man, I was just as I was watching, you know, Grambling play Purdue last night, I was like, it just kind of seeing Grambling, like whenever I would watch Grambling play basketball when I was going to Southern, you know, when they would come to Southern, and like, you know, now I watch them on TV, you know, not trying to sound like I'm down talking our HBCUs, but it'll have like 20 people in the arena. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody that get a dunk and, you know, you wouldn't hear any roaring or nothing like that. But, you know, like last night, seeing Grambling on the floor and like in a packed out arena, even though it wasn't none. It's not like it was a bunch of Grambling fans. It was a bunch of Purdue fans. It's just, man, it made me feel like, man, what if? Or man, this could happen one day where HBCUs and SWAC schools and MEAC schools could be just as big as the rest of these other schools, you know. So I just want to get y'all opinion on, you know, how y'all feel about, you know, HBCU SWAC schools and MEAC schools. making it to the big dance, even though it was the swag schools that made it. But not saying that MEAC schools can't make it either, and other HBCUs as well. And the future, like could we go deeper? Like next year, could Southern pull off an upset? Because Southern has pulled off an upset in the big dance. I remember they almost beat #1 Gonzaga. Like it was a few years ago, but
2013.
2013. I remember that because I was in high school. But I remember like seeing that on TV, like But yeah, not to sound too long winded, but basically, what's your opinion on JSU girls, Grambling boys, in March Madness, and the potential for HBCU basketball success in the NCAA tournament?
You want to go first, Kid? You want me to go first on this one? Okay.
You go first.
All right. Well, first of all, let me address your first point in terms of, when Grambling would come to town, it would be, empty or whatever. I'm not gonna lie. Kid could tell you this. Of course, we always had season tickets to the football games, but we would go to a few Southern University home basketball games over the years. For those individuals that watch my channel, like I post content from both Southern University football and basketball games. And when Kay and I was, were kids, and with our parents, we would go to the Felton G. Clark Activity Center for Southern University basketball games. Like it would be mostly packed. But when Grambling would come to town, it was essentially a basketball version of the Bayou Classic. So that would be the game we would avoid because it would be so packed in the Felton G. Clark Activity Center. It would be basically standing room only. However, it's made a paradigm shift, a complete 180 in the opposite direction from the standpoint of like the last few games we went to. I mean, the few games we went to this season. I mean, it looks packed on the outside. However, once you get into the Phil G. Clark Activity Center, there's really nobody in there. So I don't think it is a reflection more so on Grambling. I think it's probably just basketball around the SWAC and just the HBCU run in general, because for the most part, there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare like the last Southern game I went to again when they played against Bethune-Cookman and Reggie Theers and his Bethune-Cookman team. So I think it's not necessarily a reflection on Grambling, but I think it's a reflection on the SWAC in general. And in terms of, the success SWAC teams has had in the NCAA tournament, of course, this kind of is, pre-U. But I remember when, in the early 90s, when Southern University played, they played on a Friday, and of course they had Avery Johnson, they had Bobby Fields. Like Southern had some dogs on their team. And of course, legendary Southern University head basketball coach, Ben Jobe, he had this up-tempo running gun style. Like they would shoot the ball within 7 seconds of the shot clock. Anything past 7 seconds, it was too long. It was 7 seconds or less. And of course, Avery Johnson, Southern University legend, him and Bobby Fields, they're both in the Raptors in terms of, Southern University Hall of Famers. They were like the two catalyst players. They upset Georgia Tech in the first round. I think that was like, 93, if I'm not mistaken. And they went on, at the time you had the Fab Five with Jalen Rose. I don't know if you know about the Fab Five with Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and Jimmy King and, the whole Fab Five of Michigan. Had Southern been able to pull another upset against George Washington, they would have played against the Fab Five in the next round of the tournament. I wanted to see that game so bad, but Southern couldn't pull another upset against George Washington because George Washington had this center named Yenka Darby. He was a 7-footer at the time. He passed some years back. May he rest in peace. But the fact that they had a 7-foot center and, Southern played a running gun style brand of basketball, but he just was too much for him. And I think George Washington went on to play against Michigan, and Michigan smacked him. But I want to see the running gun Southern University Jaguars at the time against, the Fab Five, and their running gun style. That would have been like a perfect matchup. And, of course, that was that year. And then, like, 05, when I was at Southern, and I had this class. In fact, he was in the class with me. Southern had this player named Pedro. His nickname was Pedro. His name was Peter Cipriano. He led Southern against a J.J. Redick-led Duke team. Duke had J.J. Redick, and they had Sheldon Williams, who ended up going on to play in the NBA for the Hawks, and he married Candace Parker. They had a good team, and Southern was beating them in that game, but Southern didn't have enough shooting, and eventually J.J. Redick, he got off. They came back and beat Southern, but they eventually ended up losing in the Final Four to LSU. LSU had this player that ended up playing in the NBA for the Chicago Bulls. His name was Tyrese Thomas. Tyrese Thomas was like 6'9", so LSU put Tyrese Thomas on J.J. Redick. And then, of course, in 2013, like you said, when they played against Gonzaga, I was teaching at the school named Evolves High School, and I watched the game in Marksville. And, I left school early, like, instead of me, like, lingering around after school. As soon as school was over, I left after I finished my duty. And I was just hoping Southern could have pulled that upset, and they barely lost that game. Kelly Olynyk was the best player on Gonzaga's team. So not only that, but, you had a Jackson State. Remember one year Jackson State was in the NCAA tournament, and they intentionally came in late. Their band made an entrance, and that was like the highlight of the game. I remember Texas Southern had a real good year, one year, and they played in the NCAA tournament. So I think my overall point, I don't mean to be too long with it, which I have a tendency to be sometimes. More than anything, SWAC schools could compete in the NCAA tournament and have success, but, all the pieces have to kind of come together and, come together at the right time. And I think, I'm happy for Jackson State and Grambling. Of course, I would have preferred Southern to be in both of those spots, but at the end of the day, whoever goes on to the SWAC, as long as they represent the SWAC well, I was happy for Jackson State, happy for Grambling. They weren't able to pull it off, but, I'm happy they did well. And whoever comes out the SWAC, even though when we play against each other, it's a rivalry, outside of SWAC or any HBCUs, anytime they play against a PWI, we want them to be successful because it's a reputation. It's a representation of all the SWAC schools and all the HBCUs, so we want them to do well and thrive and be successful. To UK.
Okay, well, first I want to say it is an encouragement to see any HBCU or any school outside of the SEC to go and play in, whether it's the Final Four or even make it to, the championship or anything near that. That is encouragement for me to see that at any time in the future that maybe it can be Southern or it could be any other HBCU or any school that has never played on that level. And also, maybe at one day we will see Southern. I hope it's sooner than later. So I think that opens doors for other schools, whether it's a smaller level or even if it's a HBCU or whatever it is. I just think that it's just encouraging to see that, and kudos to Grambling for even making it as far as they did. Coach, tell me, what do you have for open discussion?
Well, as usual, I have a variety of different open discussion topics, but I kind of want to touch on what we talked about in terms of the NBA. Do you think, this is not just for King Ray, this is for you also, okay? Do y'all think Zion Williamson is proving all his critics, his dollars, and his naysayers wrong, with the way he's been able to stay healthy? Of course, he lost 25 pounds. That's kind of been a big topic of discussion on.
Excuse me, Coach, but it was 30.
Well, different
25.
people saying.
I seen 25.
Yeah, I saw 25 too.
And I saw online that they say it was 30 pounds that he lost.
Well, phrase it as he lost more than 20 pounds.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well, on Gil's Arena, they say 25 in terms of
more than 20.
Yeah. What Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, they said 25. So, you get varying numbers, but more than anything.
More than 20, Coach.
Well, no, what I'm saying, Gilbert Arenas said 25.
I know. That's what I'm telling you. It don't matter what they said. It's more than 25. We get it.
Well, either way, I think we arguing over semantics, but the point I'm trying to
I
make
know
is,
that's why I was saying it's more than 20. It's like it don't even matter at this point.
yeah. But more than anything, do y'all think he is proving his critics, his doubters, and his naysayers wrong by what he's been able to accomplish thus far this season?
Okay, what do you have for open discussion? Well, rebuttal for you, Ray.
Well, I wasn't gonna see if you was gonna go first. So you want me to go first?
Yes, sir.
All right, I say yeah, he's proving them wrong, especially highly unless something terrible happens before the season is over. Look like he's gonna play this full season. So he's gonna have proven them wrong in that aspect. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. This would be his very first him playing in the playoffs for the very first time, right? Because I remember, when the Pelicans got like this current Pelicans team, what
Played against the
for
Phoenix Suns 2 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
Zion
he
didn't
didn't
play.
play. He
Right,
didn't play.
right. So this year will be his first year. So that would be his first full season and his first playoffs. Then if he wins if he wins this first series, um they're gonna have a lot of hype around him. And to be honest, so yes, I feel like he has proven them wrong so far, but I feel like he could drastically prove them wrong with making it into the playoffs, potentially winning the first series. And from a talent standpoint, I'm pretty sure we could agree. I don't think he's reached his peak yet. He has a lot more things that he could add to his game that he hasn't added yet.
Yeah, I
And,
would agree
and,
with
and
that.
I agree with you, Ray. I agree that he hasn't reached his peak because there's so many more things that. Well, first of all, I feel that the reason he hasn't reached his peak because one, he hasn't played a full-on season. There was always something coming up to stop the progress that could be made for him, as well as him being that leader that his team needs. Because when you have someone, because I always used to tell my, as I supervise people, I always tell people I would not tell you to do something if you don't see me doing it. So for him to show better than he is telling, that will be a great thing for his team to seeing him going out there and playing defense as well as making the shots and just being a full on player. And one thing also I want to say is that guys need to see him be a role model on the field as well as off the, well, I'm sorry, not field, the court as well as off the court, like we talked about with all the other guys. So for him to have to clean up his act off the court, that will show him just being that all around person that they need him to be so that he can just really shine. And with the weight loss, that is helping him to really take it to the peak, take him to the next level that he needs to be. Anything else, guys?
Well, that's for that topic. What do you have, King Ray?
Wait, what you mean? What do I have?
Oh
Open
no.
discussion. Anything else for open discussion?
Yeah, I went already.
Yeah. All right. UK.
I have nothing for open discussion because it's with the next topic. What do you have anything else for us for open discussion, Coach? Coach, anything else?
Oh no. I don't have anything else in regards to open discussion. Y'all, we could just transition to the next topic.
Fact or cap? Do you have anything for us, Ray? Fact or cap?
Yeah, factor cap. Women's college basketball is more entertaining right now than men's basketball.
I will say cap. I don't feel like it's more entertaining, even if they are uh, performing. I'm sorry, I never was a big WNBA fan. I hate to say it like that, but they're doing their thing because I
College.
saw.
Well, no, that's what I was about to say, Kate. I don't think he's referring to WNBA. I think he was referring to Women's college basketball versus men's college basketball.
Yeah, strictly college, not NBA.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, they're doing their thing. They are entertaining. I feel like there are um, more people tuning in than normal, but I still don't think so. Coach.
Uh, I think that's fact. The reason being is because the simple fact that not just this season, but last season, is a lot more interest around the women's game. At one point, women's college basketball, it was more of a blimp on the radar, and men's college basketball was a shooting star, a supernova. At this point, players, they want it done. They're trying to go to the NBA. So you don't have as many stars in the college game as you once had years ago. And in addition to that, you have the Bayou Barbie, Angel Reese, you have Caitlin Clark. They're far bigger stars than anybody in the men's college game. So I would say it's fact, me personally.
And I want to add this follow-on question. Kim, can you name me at least 3 college basketball female players right now?
I could.
But no, and that's what I'm trying to prove. Name me 3 college men's basketball players right now.
I can't.
That's my point. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Now I'm not trying to defend I'm not trying to argue your response because that's like your response. But that's kind of what I was trying to make. It's like we know, like, and that's what Coach basically was saying. Like, it's like it's more publicity around, the women's college basketball. That's all I was trying to like say. But it's basically personal opinionated questions and responses.
Okay. I feel like you are right with LSU. They're doing their thing, and because I was watching, guys, I was watching. I may mess their names up. Kaylin and I forgot what's her name. They have a what's her name?
Talking about Caitlin Clark?
No. These are WNBA.
Okay.
They have a podcast, and I was watching it on YouTube, and they were basically talking about college basketball, how the young ladies, they're doing their thing, and who they can foresee making it to the WNBA, and who do they look forward to seeing on the court. And they made some great points, how they were talking about the young ladies being guided by their coaches and potential stars. And that's something I can really say that, that's someone, you need someone that you can take, have to take under your wing, because they need that. They need someone to take them under their wing and bring them to the next level, because they were talking about how they had that to take them to the next level, because a lot of people don't have that, whether it's a coach, it's another WNBA player, if it's even just someone who's been a former WNBA player or anything of that caliber. And there's not a lot of that out there, or someone's willing to do that. Do you think what do you think about that, Ray? Let's start with you.
So do you think like someone's able to like lead them in the right direction?
Whether they're leading them or even willing or capable to pull them under their wing and bring them to the next level.
So like more experienced women's basketball.
Yes,
Okay.
players, coaches, because a lot of times, like we look at Kim. Kim is taking a lot of these in LSU. She's taking these
Kim
girls.
Kim Mulkey.
Yes, she's taking these young ladies under her wing and
Okay.
teaching them that they have to have self-control. They have to have, this discipline to be able to perform. To basically climb up the ranks. Whether you are at the bottom of the league, and you could just climb back up to, get to the next level, or even just fight, whether like example, how I heard you say last weekend, Ray, how they weren't doing very well, and she said that she did not feel like they had that dog in them. And then by the end of that, the end of the season, you said that they had that dog. She said, as a rebuttal, they have that dog now in them.
Yeah.
So, do you think there will be a lot of people that will bring out that dog in these young women and make the WNBA or college basketball as interesting as they, like you say now?
Yeah, I would say at first I was the way I thought your question was is like, do like they need the older generation to help them bring in a new generation? I was about to say no, because I'm like the older generation don't need to try and help the young generation, because the young generation is changing the game, But since you rephrase, like since what's the word I'm looking for? Since you like explained your question more, I see what you're saying now, and I would say yeah, because you need to go. It's kind of two sides of it. It's like the actual skill set. Yes, the younger players always need to go to coaches or older veteran players, like somebody like Sher. And that's why a lot of people love Dawn Staley, because Dawn Staley was a dog, and she's coaching these younger players, and that's why South Carolina is a dog every year, because they got a dog teaching them. And
Yes, yes.
and like, I know we talking about the WNBA. I mean, women's basketball, but you could look at the same thing with Coach Prime. Coach Prime was a dog, and he has that gift, because not every player that was good at their sport has the skill set to coach/teach. But obviously, Dawn Staley has it, and Kim Mulkey, she played basketball too. No, not trying to down talk her, but she wasn't a dog that Dawn Staley was. But she still played. But like as far as like experience wise, yes, you definitely need that. Like you see people like Cheryl Swoops. Who's that one lady that was a dog for USC? I seen that she was talking with Juju Watkins.
You talking about Cheryl Miller?
Yeah, her. She was just like
that's Reggie Miller's older sister.
Okay, wow, I didn't even know Reggie Miller had a older sister.
Oh no, well, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna let you finish, Ray. But he told his story about how, I guess maybe his dad went to Cheryl's game and maybe mom went to his game or whatever. And he I guess he finally got a start. And he started, and he had 42 points in the game. So he got in the car and he was ready to gloat. And basically he was saying, hey, I started. And she was like, oh, Reggie, that's great. He was like, yeah, I did kind of good. I had 42. And then he was like, how did you do? How many points did you get? And the face expression that the dad made while he was driving, and he was like, well, you got 60? And he was like, no. He's like, you got this? And I'm like, no. And like, how much you got? She was like, you got 100 and some points. And he was like, what?
Man, I don't believe that, man.
Hey, if you think I'm lying, Google it. Google how many points.
Did not score 100 points in a high school game?
Google how many points Cheryl Miller had in the game. So he was like, he thought he was like a star for that game. But the thing about it is, he was like, man, I'm being overshadowed in my own household. So she said she used to play him one-on-one and she used to beat up on him. But she said,
wow, they said 105.
I'm telling you. So,
my gosh.
So basically she was saying she used to come home and she used to whoop up on him. She said one day they played pick up, and then she said, I beat him off the dribble easy. She got to the going with the lid up and he pinned it against the glass. She said after that, we only played horse after that. But more than anything, most of his life, he was getting like overshadowed by her, even when he played for the Pacers. Like that was one of Spike Lee's heckling points is, hey, you're Cheryl's sister. You're not Reggie Miller.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that. That's a pretty wild story. And she's like 2 years older than him. I'm thinking maybe it's something.
No, I think she might be 3 if I'm not mistaken.
Because I just Googled it. He's 58, she's 60.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I don't know. We got to factor in when they make their birthdays. I don't know when he make his and when she make hers.
But that still doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying, like yes, I feel like this generation do need those dogs. Like we were just talking about Cheryl Miller. She's chatting it up with Juju Watkins, who's that girl's pretty much scoring like 30 points every game. Like we seen Caitlin Clark just break the all-time scoring record. I wouldn't be surprised if Juju Watkins keeps up with the pace that she's on. She could potentially break that her senior year, which is crazy. And I'm watching Notre Dame right now. You got Hannah Hallidigo or something like that. But what I'm saying is like you got a lot of these young female dogs are being coached by the older female dogs, and that's good for that's good as far as skill asset wise. But you got to understand what a women's game at now. You have a endorsement, NIL, social media. You have a media side, and I feel like that older generation probably can't really guide them like how they need to because they don't know nothing about that. I remember Cheryl Miller told Juju Watkins, "Don't forget to be Juju Watkins." When she's stepping away from the game of basketball and stuff like that. Remember to be yourself. I feel like that's the best thing, the best advice you could tell a person. So I could be wrong there. I'm kind of giving myself some rebuttal. So since the older generation didn't have to deal with all this publicity, they never had to worry about being themselves because they always had time to themselves. And maybe they could you know what, I take that back. Yes, from a skill set point and from a social set point, like publicity wise, they could guide them and they could teach them how to stay focused when it comes to them having all these different photo shoots, being in the media. Like I want to use Flau'jae Johnson as a quick example. She really is a full-time rapper, college student, and basketball player at the same time. I don't know if y'all really know that or not. Cause like she just made a song and shot a music video with NLE Chopper. I don't know when she did all this. She could have did it in the summer and just now putting it on her social media, or she could have did it like a few weeks ago. But like, he's a full-time student. She's playing basketball. She's a dog as well. And she's like, her music is really good. She don't curse in none of her music, and like her music goes hard to me. So, but I feel like they do need those people to help them stay focused on and off the court. And I know Kim Mulkey. She says that she has a team. Kim Mulkey doesn't. Kim Mulkey, is older as well. So Kim Mulkey is not on Twitter and all these social media platforms. But they have staff on the team that keeps up with all that stuff. So I would assume maybe not coaches will handle that stuff. Some coaches can, but you probably will have somebody on the team that can guide those girls, and how to deal with basketball, the life of basketball, fame and publicity on and off the court. That's it.
Anything more for you, Coach?
Nah, not so much.
Okay, before we move forward, we want to send a shout out to our fam out there. Shout out to Billy Bob. Shout out to Motivation to Be a Millionaire. Shout out to Daddy Daughter Time. Shout out to Jared 011 Green. Shout out to Brent Fox. Shout out to Main Event Mark 125. Shout out to everyone who's watching and showing us love. We really appreciate you and thank you so much. So, Coach, start us off with the NFL as well as with the Saints. What are your thoughts?
Well, before I get to the Saints, this was gonna kind of tie into my factor cap. That's the reason why I held on to it. King Ray, the Kansas City Chiefs has traded JariusSneed to the Tennessee Titans. Now we all know that the NFL is not like the NBA. The NBA has a soft cap, meaning you can exceed the salary cap and you could go into the luxury tax. However, the NFL has a hard cap. So I'm almost thinking that they really didn't want to give it a JariusSneed. It was more of a salary cap thing more than anything. But being it or not, King Ray, my factor cap question is, do you think it was a bad move for the Kansas City Chiefs to trade JariusSneed? Factor cap.
Fact. I ain't gonna lie. You understand the money aspect of it from a financial standpoint. Best thing to do, but I'm pretty sure anybody on that team would agree that was the I ain't gonna say the worst thing for them to do. It's not like they got rid of Patrick Mahomes, but it wasn't. If they would have preferred to find another route, they would have took another route. That's basically the best way I could explain it. I feel like if they could have took another route to do what they need to do, I'm pretty sure they would have took it. But I'm pretty sure they that kind of it's almost like I'm pretty sure they got a saying for this, but it's almost like cutting out a bullet or something like out your arm or something like that. It's like you got to sacrifice yourself. You got to sacrifice a piece of yourself. They had to sacrifice a piece of themselves, even though it was hurtful. It was necessary, but that's like us trading away Marshawn Lattimore. Do I think we should do it? No, but if the Saints came to a point where they needed to do it, it needed to be done. Just like us trading Jimmy Graham. I don't think we should have never traded Jimmy Graham. But
yeah, I agree with you from the standpoint of that's probably the reason why they did it, because they couldn't afford to keep him. And especially when teams win the Super Bowl, because I've told this to many people over the years, especially when the team win the Super Bowl and they have a lot of free agents. A lot of those free agents end up walking and going to other teams. The reason being is because, like I said, in the NFL, you have a hard cap. You can't afford to pay all of these players. That's the reason why you've seen over the years teams like the New England Patriots, they, for the exception of Tom Brady, of course, when they had Bill Belichick as the head coach, for the exception of Brady and Gronk, like they really didn't keep like star players. They just pretty much find another player to replace the player that they lost. And the same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a tendency to, for the exception of maybe Big Ben, not really covet like star caliber players. They would, especially from the running back position. So at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at somebody like Le'Veon Bell, hey, I might go find somewhere else to go. So at the end of the day, it's a part of the NFL game. Now, I disagree with you from the Marcus. I mean, from the Lattimore standpoint, Marshawn Lattimore. I think at this point, if they were to trade him now, I'll be a proponent of it because he's on the back end of his career. He's in the twilight of his career. He commands a lot of money. He gets a lot of money. I mean, if they're not going to take too much of a cap penalty, I'll be in favor of trading him if you could get maybe like fifth, sixth round pick at this point. But, when he was young and in his prime, no, that would have been a bad move. But at this point, and don't get me wrong, he's still the best DB they have in terms of the best cover corner they have. But at this point, he's injury prone. He's older. He's in the twilight of his career. He's seen his better days, but he's still a very good and very serviceable player. But at the end of the day, you got Paulson the Debo, you got Alante Taylor. If you can find another good young cornerback that's emerging, I'll be in favor of trading Lattimore if they could get something of value for him. But you were right, though. I agree with the premise behind what you were saying.
Okay, guys, I think just to weigh in real quick, I think that I would have, and I know you don't have many options, but if it's not broke, don't, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And I just feel like 2 years in a row, it's gotten them where they are. Things are, flowing pretty well. I wouldn't have changed anything. I would have asked maybe other guys, could they maybe fluctuate some? Because I mean, they have a really great team. They won the NFL. I mean, the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. So that's pretty good to me.
But no, but that's what we were saying, boo. I think it was more of a situation where,
Finances, I
yeah, from a
understand.
financial standpoint, they probably couldn't afford to keep him. That's all.
That's why I said I would have maybe talked to the other guys and see what they were willing to sacrifice.
Well, I mean, that's the bad thing about it. They won a Super Bowl. It's not like the Saints situation where you can get a bunch of players to restructure contracts. If you, like you said, if you won back-to-back Super Bowls, players are not going to give you a hometown discount, especially if they were pivotal pieces of that championship run. In addition to that, if you just won a Super Bowl, all right, just to give you an example, I can't think of what team it was, But I know there's one player, he just played well recently, and even after him playing well, the team asked him, basically would he restructure his contract? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. So if you're a vital piece on a Super Bowl winner that won back-to-back Super Bowls, I really don't see players restructuring contracts like you would for a team like the Saints, when you didn't even make the playoffs. So in that situation, you can't ask star players. I mean, all you really could do in that situation is point out the two pieces, the most vital pieces on your team. Of course, we know that's Patrick Mahomes on the offensive end. What the defensive tackle name for the nose guard, what his name is, King Ray for the Chiefs. They just gave him a big contract extension.
I can't think of his
Oh,
name.
Jones.
Oh, talking about not Chris Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's their two. That's the one superstar on the offensive end, one superstar on the defensive end. Outside of those two players, you probably really can't afford to keep everybody else. That's why, like I said, when you have a lot of free agents on the Super Bowl team, you just let those players go because they can't afford to keep them.
Guys, so before we ask anybody else about their thoughts on the NFL, I noticed that uh, for the draft, they did the mock draft and they're expecting Drake May he's going to head to New England. What are your thoughts, guys?
Me.
Let's start with you, Ray.
You
Oh, all
sure?
right, go King Ray.
I don't think so. I know I see some people is considering Jaden Daniels might the Patriots might try to get Jaden Daniels, but that's if the Washington Commanders don't get him. But I don't think New England Patriots gonna get Drake May. I was just reading about them getting somebody else.
Maybe Bo Nix.
Maybe somebody like Bo Nix or something like that. I think it might have been Justin Fields, but Justin Fields went to the
Steelers.
yeah, to the Steelers. I think that's who it was. I think the Patriots was. I think I seen a post about them talking about the Patriots getting Justin Fields. But do I think the Patriots would get Drake May? I mean, me personally, the reason why I say no is because I'm not too high on Drake May. I would be more higher on Bo Nix than Drake May, to be honest. Just based off of their collegiate success, Bo Nix was a Heisman Trophy finalist, and made the college football playoffs. Drake May was just at North Carolina. Not like that means anything. You got somebody like uh, Brandon Allen. That's his, Brandon Allen, his name? Josh Allen. I don't know where I got Brandon Allen from. Josh Allen, he played at Wyoming. Who watches Wyoming football? Nobody. But me personally, the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm not too high on Drake May. I think, the Patriots would want to get somebody who's more proven. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots get somebody like JJ McCarthy or something like that. But that's just my take on it.
And just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, my brother that's in the chat, Jared Loving Green, he a North Carolina Tar Heels fan. He would be to tell you more about Drake May than I would. But me personally, I feel like if they can't get a Jaden Daniels, because I mean, you have certain teams that need a quarterback. Like you said, of course, you have the Bears who more than likely going to take Caleb Williams at this point. You got Jaden Daniels on the board. To me, I think those are two quarterbacks I covered the most. Everybody else is kind of like, after that is a little bit of a drop off. So, the Bears need a quarterback. The Washington Commanders need a quarterback. New England Patriots, the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm going to be truthful. Some of those teams, they might want try to pick them up a veteran quarterback. And after you pick up a veteran quarterback, maybe bring in a young quarterback, draft a quarterback later in the first round or maybe even a second round, and maybe you could slowly bring that guy along while you let your veteran quarterback. I'm going to be truthful. That's why I was surprised, Jameis Winston went to the Browns from the standpoint of, they got multiple quarterbacks. So at some point, One of those quarterbacks gonna have to go out. I'm almost certain you're not gonna keep all those quarterbacks. So of course we know Deshaun Watson is the guy. So I mean, but I think some of those teams, with this quarterback carousel that you have in the NFL, it's kind of like playing musical chairs. That's why I don't understand why some of these other teams, like maybe a Washington Commanders, uh, more than likely, like you said, they're probably gonna get Jaden Daniels. Maybe a team like the New England Patriots. Why they didn't try to make a push for Justin Fields? I know his trade value was way down, but when the musical chairs stop and the music goes off, you don't want to be the team that's left out in the cold without a quarterback. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I don't think Drake may go into the New England Patriots either.
Okay, what else do you have for us, Coach?
Oh well, the big news for Saints fans is the fact that the Saints they signed Chase Young. What are your thoughts on the Saints signing Chase Young, King Ray?
When they first did it, I was happy. Then that's when the news came out that he had to get neck surgery, and I'm like, oh man. Like you ever brought something from the store, and then when you got home and you opened it and it was broke on the inside, and you go back to the store like, can I get my return, please? That's how I felt. I'm like, man, we done brought a broken toy. But I also read that the Saints knew this, and there are things in the contract, to where if he gets hurt and all this stuff like that, where like that's the reason why in the NFL, all the money is not guaranteed. It makes sense, because stuff like this happens. But they were saying he should be back, before training camp or around training camp time, which is, still good and stuff like that, I guess. But we don't need another injury prone defensive end. That's
Like
something
Peyton
that,
Turner.
huh?
Like Peyton Turner.
And what's his name? I done forgot his name already.
Oh, you talking Marcus Davenport?
Yeah,
I mean, just think about it. Instead of Marcus Davenport, you could have got Lamar Jackson at that pick, but that's another
hey
story.
man, please don't remind us, bro. And don't talk about how we could have got Patrick Queen instead of us going to get that offensive lineman that could do backward flips from Michigan. What's his name?
Who you talking about? Trevor Penny?
No, not Trevor Penning, the black dude.
Um,
Caesar Ruiz.
C. Ruiz, yeah.
Yeah, we could have. I remember because the Saints had everybody was like, "Oh, the Saints get Patrick Queen," and I'm waiting for them to pull out the card. The Saints have selected Patrick Queen, and they say Caesar Ruiz. I'm like, "Who is this?"
Yeah,
And they
another boss.
and I'm like, "Bruh, like."
And I mean that's the bad thing about it. If you look at the Saints' last like first round picks, whether we talking about, well, I ain't gonna lie, Brian Brzee, I think he did all right this year past. But outside of him, if you look at Trevor Penny and you look at Caesar Ruiz, you look at Peyton Turner, and that's another situation in terms of the defensive end position. You got Cam Jordan, who he's in the twilight of his career. He's still good. He's still serviceable. But, he on the back end, he definitely, in the back end of his career, in the twilight of his career, you got him, you got Carl Granderson. Peyton Turner is clearly a bust because he's injury prone. And when he's healthy, he's still not getting on the field. So you got Peyton Turner. You drafted Isaiah Foskey, from Notre Dame. So you got Foskey, you got Peyton Turner, you got Carl Granderson, you got Cam Jordan. Then you signed Chase Young. So I mean, how many defensive ends can one team keep? I
So
mean, even if you play with a NASCAR package where you have 3 or 4 defensive ends, in a game for pass rush situations, man, how many defensive ends you gonna keep?
yeah, so that's the thing. With the Saints signing Chase Young, you know, uh, I was really happy at first. He had a solid career and stuff like that, but hopefully we could finally get a defensive end that can, stay healthy, unlike a lot of the defensive ends that we had in the
Yeah,
past, which would usually get hurt a
yeah,
lot.
Marcus Davenport and Peyton Turner. You could just say the names.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so of course um this is good until the season comes. If he produces and has the outcome that we would like for him to have, like he does the output. probably gets like 6 sacks, ain't no some tackle for losses, that would be good. But like, getting back to past defensive ends that we had, the Saints gambled and they always picked wrong. We got people like Peyton Turner and Marcus Davenport, but we let people like Trey Henderson go. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, I'm not gonna lie, King Ray. They couldn't afford to keep Trey Henderson. The kind of season he had, they were already over the cap. He was gonna demand a bag, no matter what they did in that scenario.
I mean, look at all the other players that demanded the bag and they gave it to him.
No, but you're missing my point though. Yeah,
I
you're
know.
right.
Every great
No. You're right from the standpoint. You're right from the standpoint. The couple seasons leading up to him, if you wouldn't have gave some of these bad contracts you gave to other players, you'd have had the money to get him. But when his contract was up, they were way over the cap, way over the cap. There was no way, even if you restructured the whole team, you still wasn't gonna have enough money to sign Trey Hendrickson. You got to realize that the two things that's most coveted in the NFL are franchise quarterbacks and elite pass rushers. So the year he had, there was no way they were gonna be able to re-sign him. And I'm gonna be truthful. At first I was like, nah, I think he kind of feeding off of Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport. But as the season progressed, you like, hey man, this dude, he really is a dog because the Saints, they have this thing. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Every year in training camp in the preseason, they always pick this one white player that they like to try to push like he the next superstar. The last one that they really tried to push was this linebacker named Adam Big Hill. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm like, man, this dude. So I'm gonna be honest with you, until he really like prove his worth and earn his stripes as the season progressed, then I realized, man, this dude the real deal. But the Saints not gonna be able to afford to keep him. So you're right. Maybe he a player they should have kept, but like they were over the cap, so they could. There was 0% chance he was gonna stay with the Saints.
Okay, guys, and something I wanted to hit on. Something concerns me with the Saints, with their front office. Making the decisions they make. Do you think maybe they need some coaching about the decisions they're making? Let's start with you, Ray, because it concerns me. Like you were saying, making some of the. I said they need coaching, like the front office, like some guidance of what decisions they need to make.
They are the
The
front office is the guidance. They are the coaches.
I'm saying they need guidance because some of the decisions they make, like
I know that's what I'm saying. The guidance, if they're the guidance, who's gonna guide the guidance?
They could reach out to other teams.
No, they don't reach out to no other teams. Everybody enemies at this point. The club is called the Saints. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, can
I got you.
So my thing is, where I'm gonna go is they need to get rid. They got the wrong guidance and guidance. They need to get rid of the guidance that they have and get some different guidance. They need to go in another direction with their guidance.
And I agree with you totally. I didn't want to just come out and say it. Coach, what are your thoughts?
And one other thing you didn't realize, you got to realize, don't get me wrong, Mickey Loomis, when he was at the top of his game as the general manager for the New Orleans Saints, he's done an excellent job. But because at one point he was hitting. As of late, he's doing way more missing than hitting. Then one thing you don't realize, his assistant GM, Jeff Ireland, he's been an NFL general manager too. So King Ray makes a valid point from the standpoint. He was like, they need some coaches. Essentially, you have two general managers. Mickey Loomis, that's been a general manager for years for the Saints, and Jeff Ireland, who's been a general manager for a couple of NFL teams. So he's right. There's no other person that you're going to bring in that's really going to offer you guidance, because anybody else that could offer you the kind of guidance you would need, they're too old. All right, just say even if you did, find somebody that's a Hall of Fame caliber general manager. At this point, the game has passed them by, so there's nobody really can offer you the kind of guidance that they would need. Like King Ray said, basically at this point, if they don't do a sufficient job, I'm going to just be truthful. If they don't make the playoffs this coming season, you fire Mickey Loomis, you fire Jeff Ireland, you fire Dennis Allen, you get rid of Derek Carr, and you just blow the whole thing up. I mean, that's all you really could do. Because at one point, Mickey Loomis, he did an excellent job in terms of evaluating talent. Just to think, and hit the last real good draft he got Lattimore, he got Ryan Ramczyk, he got Alvin Kamara, he got all three of those guys in the same draft. But now it's to a point where, you're getting guys like Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz and Peyton Turner. It's like lately, for the exception of Brian Brzee, all the draft picks you made in the first round, you're missing on all of them. So if they don't make the playoffs this coming season, yeah, it's just time to get rid of the Loomis and just rebuild.
Do you think, on the second end of this question, do you think someone will bring that to Gail's, eyesight to forefront for her to know that or realize that? Or do you think she just allows someone else to call the shots and she just goes with the flow?
You go first, King Ray.
Can you say,
with Gail, do you think she's just kind of riding on that and she's not allowing, she's not calling the shots, letting them, run the show?
Well, like, you got some owners that's like Jerry Jones, where they in the mix, and you got some owners that's not in the mix. And I definitely feel like, that was her. And I think, I feel like she never really wanted to be in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Billy Bob was right, man. I forgot all about Michael Pratt from Tulane. Michael Pratt is a pretty good quarterback, even though that's off the topic. But yeah, man, I feel like, Gail, I was about to say Gail Kenya, but Gail Benson, Gail Benson.
No, wrong Gail.
I know. But Gail Benson, she doesn't like when you look at Gail, like, when she goes into the locker room, they hugging. Like, she don't seem like she could be that type of woman that's like, get him out of here, fire him right now. Like, I feel like that's why DC
Dennis Allen?
DA. I don't know why I said DC. DA. Dennis Allen's still in the building because I feel like any other owner probably would have got him gone. But she's just that sweet lady, that just continuing her husband's legacy. Maybe it's time for the children, because don't they got kids? Maybe it's time for the children to take over.
Yes, she does have children.
Well, I know he had kids prior to her.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the two of them had kids together though. That's the question. I don't know.
And because I know they were fighting her for that. Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like, you ought to let the younger people come in and let them do their thing. Because I feel like, it's almost like she's not saying that she doesn't care, not saying that, she can't do, but it's like she doesn't give off that fierce owner mentality. Like, how it is. Like, let's just say I'm at work and not the manager, not the CEO comes into the building. You're going to make sure you correct. I feel like she doesn't carry that type of energy of like, oh man, that's the owner. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying people disrespect her, but I feel like she doesn't have that intimidation factor to where like people are like, hey, we got to be on our best behavior to maybe the way, Tom Benson was. But yeah, my kind of thing is I feel like maybe his children should start getting in some of the control, not fully take everything over, but slowly work their way in, into the position of power.
Yeah. Coach, do you have anything else?
Well, I'm gonna say the same thing. First of all, King Ray is 100% correct. I think the issue is, I think the way you phrased it, you don't need an intimidation factor, but I think the issue is, like he said, she's just too nice. I'm just phrasing it a different way than he did. He's right from the standpoint you have some owners like Jerry Jones that's too involved. It's to a point, I'm gonna be honest with you. Jerry Jones really wants to be the general manager. I mean, instead of, you having Gail Benson have Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland be the general managers. For the Cowboys, Jerry Jones really wants to be the general manager. In all actuality, that's the reason why he can't really have a high-profile head coach / general manager, because the last time he had one like Bill Parcells was head coach and a general manager, but Jerry Jones wants all the credit. That's the reason why, him and Jimmy Johnson were friends. And all the success they had, the reason why he ended up getting rid of Jimmy Johnson because he felt like he wasn't getting enough credit. So Jerry Jones is on one end of the spectrum, and Gail Benson is on a completely opposite end of the spectrum. I think she's too nice. Now I disagree with the from the standpoint of, letting the kids like gradually take over. I think that the issue with the situation, I don't know the full logistics of it, but from what I'm understanding, of course, Tom Benson and Gail Benson was married a long time, but of course Gail is significantly younger than what Tom was, and he had kids, but he had kids prior to him and her getting together. So the issue is the reason why they're not having any involvement from the kids is those aren't her kids, from what I understand. Those are his kids from his previous marriage. So that's the reason why they was fighting over ownership, because those aren't her kids, if that makes sense. But in terms of from a managerial standpoint, in terms of her being an owner of the team, I'm gonna just kind of be truthful. I think she's too nice, but if they don't make the playoffs this coming year, I know she doesn't want to do it, but she has to kind of get rid of everybody from the top down, and you just need to start anew and just kind of go in a different direction. So, that's just kind of me, highlighting my point and just kind of finalize everything. Just think at one point, you had double dipping where, you had, some people from the Pelicans in terms of management work for both the Saints and the Pelicans in terms of running stuff and vice versa. NFL and NBA, is like comparing apples to oranges. You can't have somebody be a general manager for both your NFL team and your NBA team, or be in an administrative role for both your NFL team and your NBA team. They're two different sports for a reason. And I think that's the thing about it. You have some owners who, like King Ray was saying, like Jerry Jones, who are two hands on. And then you got other general managers and other owners, well, not general managers, but other owners that's two hands off. She's on the opposite end of the spectrum. There needs to be a balance. And then not only that, but more than anything, you need to know when to push the right buttons in terms of taking your franchise in the right direction. Me personally, I think she should have got rid of Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis and everybody from the top down. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, then she definitely needs to make that move. So King Ray was right. I think I'm not going to say she doesn't have an intimidation factor. I think she's just too nice. But she has to realize you have to do what's in the best interest of your franchise. You just can't be nice and say, hey, I'm not going to fire anyone. I'm not going to get rid of anyone. No, If they don't get the job, then you need to keep it pushing.
Guys, let me comment on something you said. Like Coach said it, but it's not that she just needs to be firm, because with a woman, people don't look at them in the same eyesight as a man, and I think that's why she allows them to take the forefront and kind of run things. But at the same time, this is supposed to be her business. This, if you run things with a firm hand, you're gonna be able to get things done. And I think that's where she's falling short. So do you have another topic, Ray? Ray?
No, he said he doesn't have another topic. And
okay, I didn't hear him. What about you, Coach?
No, I don't have another topic. Just to kind of finish off, what we were saying. Some owners are, too involved, and you got to realize a lot of these owners that's too involved. Like Daniel Snyder at one point for the Washington Commanders. These guys became billionaires because, they used to doing things their own way, and they used to doing things a certain way. But just say, for example, I'm a football coach and a basketball coach, but just say I got into some kind of other company that I have no expertise in. In that particular context, what you want to do is you want to let somebody that has expertise in that run it. So that's why you have an owner like Gail Benson who is hands off in terms of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna let the football people run the football organization. But at the same token, you need to know when you need to go in a different direction. So, I think you're right. I think y'all both right. You were right, K. King Ray was right, but there comes a point where you need to know, hey, you need to hold them or fold them. And I think at this point, she needs to let them all roll if they don't make the playoffs. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm reiterating the same point over and over again, but I think some people don't understand the dynamics of, being a good owner or, in a NFL or NBA. You don't want to be too hands-on, especially when you don't know what you're doing. But at the same token, you want to know when you need to go in a different direction.
Okay, guys. With that being said, Ray, tell the people how they can follow you, how they can keep track of you. You
Oh
know.
yeah, remember I was saying last time we ought to start putting our like social media and stuff names like
Yes.
um but yeah, y'all could find me on YouTube at Ray Swank 225 and King Ray on Instagram. And I'm gonna say my closing remarks as well because it's the closing. Enjoyed the show today, the topics. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Continue to give y'all inputs and comments, and that's it.
Okay, Coach.
I'm gonna echo the same sentiments as King Ray. Well, first and foremost, just want to let y'all know, on the show that I appreciate both you, K, and King Ray, for being a part of Bayou Sports Talk. We appreciate everybody that's been coming through, showing love. The brother Billy Bob, Big Joe Townsend, Brent Fox, Jared 11 Green, Motivation to be a Millionaire, Relaxing Calm Rain, Man Event Mark. Everybody that came through that chimed in. Everybody has been rocking with us. Everybody has been showing us love. We appreciate everybody. You can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. Earlier today, I did a brief 10-minute show on Facebook Live. So you can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on Facebook. I have a new group in terms of Facebook. So you can catch me, Coach 67 Sports TV on Facebook, on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. You can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on YouTube. Earlier this morning, I also did a YouTube video talking about, Fred McNair potentially being an heir apparent to Coach Terrence Graves, even though Terrence Graves just became the head coach of Southern University. So if you have not done so already, go check out that video. We appreciate y'all. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the show. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal weekend. We'll catch y'all on the rebound. Also, go check out my brother, Jad 11 Green, tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Southern Baller Show. If you have not done so already, check out my brother Brent Fox on his podcast. It's Just Me. Check out the brothers. Support the LDBC brothers. We'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace and blessings to everybody. Hopefully, y'all having a blessed weekend.
Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, follow, and if you can share as well. And for our closing remark, Michael Jordan said, I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying again. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.